Deep in the mist-shrouded mountains of Tibet, an ancient monastery holds a secret that could change everything you think you know about happiness and freedom. Tonight, you'll discover why a simple story about a monkey's trap has guided seekers for centuries, and how 3 small words from Brother Karma might unlock the very thing that's been keeping you awake at night. What if I told you that the source of your restlessness isn't what you think it is? What if the key to deep, peaceful sleep has been hiding in plain sight, waiting in the gentle wisdom of worn wooden workshops and the patient hands of monastery craftsmen? In the next 30 minutes, you'll not only find the rest you've been searching for, but you might just discover why letting go is the most powerful thing you'll ever learn to do. Welcome to tonight's journey into the peaceful world of Tenzin Monastery. I'm here to guide you into deep, restorative sleep through ancient wisdom and gentle storytelling. Let's begin. Close your eyes and feel yourself walking the ancient stone path that winds up the mountain. With each step, the day's worries fade behind you. The monastery gates open ahead, welcoming you into a world where time moves differently, where wisdom whispers in the morning mist, and where the deepest peace you've ever known is waiting. The teaching of the monkey's trap. The morning mist clings to the ancient stone walls of Tenzin Monastery, where centuries of prayer have worn smooth the granite steps leading to the workshop. Your bare feet find their familiar path along corridors lit by butter lamps, their gentle flames casting dancing shadows that seem to breathe with the rhythm of your walking meditation. The scent of sandalwood incense mingles with the earthy smell of cedar shavings as you approach Brother Karma's workshop. Through the wooden doorway, you can see him already at work, his weathered hands moving with practiced grace over a piece of wood that will become a meditation bowl. The soft tap-tap-tap of his carving tool creates a rhythm that matches your heartbeat. Ah! Brother Karma looks up with eyes that crinkle at the corners, shaped by decades of gentle smiles. Right on time. The wood has been waiting for us. His voice carries the warmth of morning tea and the steadiness of mountain stone. You settle onto the worn wooden stool beside his workbench, feeling the familiar indentations left by countless students who have sat here before you. The workshop holds the accumulated peace of years of mindful work. Each chisel stroke, each careful sanding, each moment of attention adding to the sanctuary's quiet power. Brother Karma places a smooth piece of pine before you, along with a simple carving knife, whose handle has been polished by many hands. Today, he says, running his fingers along the wood's grain, we will learn from the monkey's trap. As you pick up the knife, feeling its weight and balance, Brother Karma begins his teaching. In the villages below our mountain, hunters catch monkeys with the simplest of traps. Do you know how? His question hangs in the incense-scented air like a meditation bell's final note. You shake your head, already feeling the lesson beginning to unfold in the space between his words. They take a coconut, he continues, his own hands never pausing in their careful work, and cut a hole just large enough for a monkey's hand to slip through. Inside, they place something irresistible, nuts, rice, something sweet. The monkey reaches in, grasps the treasure, but now he pauses, his carving tool suspended mid-stroke. Now the fist is too large to withdraw. You begin to work your own piece of wood, letting the knife follow the natural lines and curves you discover there. Each small shaving that falls feels like a breath released, a small letting go. The monkey could escape so easily, Brother Karma's voice continues, soft and rhythmic like water over stones, simply by opening its hand, releasing what it grasps. But it will not. It cannot bear to let go of what it has claimed as its own, and so it remains trapped, not by the coconut, but by its own grasping. The workshop fills with the gentle sounds of mindful work, the whisper of wood against blade, the soft breath of concentration, the distant sound of temple bells marking the passage of time like a slow, sacred heartbeat. Your hands find their rhythm, each cut deliberate and peaceful. We are all monkeys. Brother Karma continues, his voice mixing with the meditation of your shared work, reaching into the coconuts of our desires, grasping at what we think will make us happy. Money, success, relationships, even spiritual achievements. He pauses to examine his work, turning the emerging bowl in hands that know wood like old friends, no silence. The trap is never the coconut. The trap is always the grasping. You feel this truth settling into your body like warmth from a cup of tea, spreading slowly through your chest and limbs. Your carving becomes a meditation on letting go, each curl of removed wood, a practice in non-attachment, each moment of attention a small freedom. The morning light grows stronger, filtering through the workshop's high windows and illuminating the countless wood shavings that cover the floor like fallen leaves. In this light, even the discarded pieces seem beautiful, necessary parts of the creative process. When I was young, Brother Karma says, his voice taking on the quality of memory, I grasped at everything. Knowledge, praise from my teachers, the perfect meditation experience. My hands were always closed into fists, always holding tight to whatever I thought I needed. He sets down his tools and extends his hands, palms up, fingers relaxed and open. It took me years to learn what the wood teaches us every day. That creation comes not from grasping, but from letting go, not from forcing, but from following, not from holding tight, but from holding lightly. Your own work has taken on a life of its own, the wood revealing its hidden nature through your patient attention. You realize you have stopped trying to make something specific and started listening to what wants to emerge. This shift feels like a door opening in your chest. The Buddha taught that suffering comes from attachment. Brother Karma continues, returning to his carving with renewed focus. But attachment is not love. Attachment is fear wearing the mask of love. When we truly love a person, a practice, an idea, we hold it lightly, like water cupped in our palms. The workshop seems to breathe around you, expanding and contracting with each moment of awareness. You notice how your grip on the carving knife has relaxed, how your shoulders have dropped, how your breathing has deepened and slowed. In Tibet, we have a saying. Brother Karma shares, his voice mixing with the rhythm of your shared work. Hold your desires like a bird in your hand. Too tight and you crush it. Too loose and it flies away. The art is in the gentle holding, the spacious caring that allows for whatever wants to emerge. Time moves differently in the workshop, each moment full and complete. You lose track of whether you have been working for minutes or hours. The meditation bowl taking shape in Brother Karma's hands seems to emerge from the wood, like dawn from darkness, inevitable, natural, perfect in its simplicity. Your own carving has become something unexpected, not what you planned, but exactly what wanted to be created. This surprise feels like a gift, a small teaching about the wisdom of letting go of predetermined outcomes. The monkey's trap teaches us about more than desire. Brother Karma says, as the morning reaches its fullness, it teaches us about the nature of suffering itself. We think our problems come from outside, from difficult people, challenging circumstances, the world not being as we wish it to be. He holds up his completed bowl, turning it slowly in the light, but the source of suffering is always the same. It is our refusal to open our hands, our insistence on holding tight to how we think things should be. The truth of this penetrates not just your mind but your entire being. You feel it in your relaxed hands, in your peaceful breath, in the way your heart has opened like a flower in your chest. This workshop, Brother Karma gestures to the space around you, filled with the accumulated peace of countless hours of mindful work, is a place for practicing the opening of hands. Every cut we make, every shaving that falls, every moment we let the wood teach us rather than forcing our will upon it. These are all lessons in the art of letting go. The morning light has reached its peak now, filling the workshop with golden warmth. You set down your tools and examine what you have created. Not perfect by any conventional measure, but beautiful in its honesty, in the attention and care that shaped every curve. Brother Karma nods approvingly. The wood remembers every moment of mindfulness you gave it. It will carry that peace with it always, and everyone who holds it will feel something of what you discovered here today. As you help clean the workshop, sweeping the wood shavings into neat piles, you understand that even this simple task is part of the teaching. Each sweep of the broom is an opportunity to practice presence, each moment of attention, a small act of devotion. Before you go, Brother Karma says, placing his hand gently on your shoulder, remember this: the monkey can free itself at any moment. The trap is an illusion that exists only as long as the grasping continues. The moment the hand opens, the moment we release our hold on what we think we need, we discover we were never truly trapped at all. You bow to your teacher, feeling the weight and lightness of the morning's teaching settling into your bones. As you walk slowly back through the monastery corridors, the butter lamps still burning with their steady, peaceful light, you carry with you the wisdom of the monkey's trap. The lesson lives now in your hands, which remember the feeling of holding lightly. It lives in your heart, which has learned something about the spaciousness of letting go. It lives in your understanding that freedom is always available, always just one open hand away. As you find your way to the meditation hall for the midday sitting, you pause at the threshold and extend your hands, palms up, fingers relaxed and open. In this simple gesture, you practice the deepest teaching, that everything we truly need is already here, already available, already ours when we learn the art of holding it lightly. The monastery holds you in its ancient peace as you settle into meditation, carrying with you the gentle wisdom of Brother Karma's teaching, the memory of wood transformed through patient attention, and the profound simplicity of hands that know how to let go. In this letting go, you find not loss, but the spaciousness for everything that truly matters to arise naturally, beautifully, in its own perfect time. Sister Dolma closes the text of the monkey's trap and sits quietly for a moment, her eyes reflecting the candlelight with deep understanding. The wisdom of letting go settles into the peaceful library air like incense finding its way to every corner. The monkey's struggle to release what it grasps, she says softly, teaches us about attachment. But sometimes, dear friend, we must learn this lesson not through parables, but through the raw experience of life itself. She reaches for another ancient text, its pages worn smooth by countless readings. Let me share with you a story of a young mother who faced the ultimate test of letting go, not a handful of rice, but the most precious thing in her world. This is how the Buddha taught Kisa Gotami about attachment through a handful of mustard seeds. And now you arrive at the ancient Tenzin monastery, nestled here in these peaceful mountains where wisdom flows, like the gentle mountain streams that have carved these sacred valleys for countless centuries. Your journey up the mountain path has brought you to this threshold of understanding. Tonight, we find ourselves in the monastery's ancient library, a sacred space where the golden light of butter lamps dances across walls lined with precious texts, their pages yellowed with age and wisdom. The scent of sandalwood incense mingles with the mustiness of old parchment, creating an atmosphere of profound peace and contemplation. Here, among the towering shelves of Buddhist scriptures and commentaries, sits Sister Dolma, a wise nun whose gentle presence has guided countless souls toward understanding. Her weathered hands, marked by decades of devotion and service, carefully turn the pages of a worn text as she prepares to share one of Buddhism's most profound teaching stories. The library itself seems to breathe with centuries of accumulated wisdom. Moonlight filters through the high windows, casting long shadows that dance with the flickering flames of the oil lamps. Outside, the wind carries the distant sound of prayer wheels turning, their soft clicking rhythm like a lullaby for the soul. Sister Dolma looks up from her reading, her eyes kind and knowing, reflecting the lamplight like deep pools of compassion. She has been a nun at this monastery for over 40 years, and her presence radiates the tranquil strength that comes from a lifetime of meditation and service. "Come, sit beside me," she says softly, her voice carrying the gentle authority of one who has walked the path of wisdom for many years. "Tonight, I wish to share with you a story that the Buddha himself told, a story that has the power to transform suffering into understanding and grief into peace." You settle into the cushioned meditation seat beside her, feeling the weight of the day's concerns beginning to lift from your shoulders. The library's atmosphere envelops you like a warm embrace. The soft rustle of Sister Dolma's robes, the gentle crackle of the oil lamps, the distant sound of monks chanting their evening prayers. Sister Dolma opens an ancient text, its pages thin as butterfly wings, and begins to speak in the measured rhythmic way of one accustomed to teaching through story. Her words flow like water over smooth stones, each syllable carefully chosen and lovingly delivered. "This story," she begins, "takes place in ancient India, in the time when the Buddha walked among us, teaching the path to liberation from suffering. It is a story about a young mother named Kisa Gotami, and it speaks to the deepest truths about the nature of loss, impermanence, and the healing power of understanding. In the ancient city of Savatthi, there lived a young woman named Kisa Gotami. She was slender and delicate, hence her name, which means the frail Gotami. But despite her physical fragility, her heart was strong and full of love, especially for her precious infant son, her first and only child. Kisa Gotami had not had an easy life. She came from a poor family, and when she married, her husband's family initially looked down upon her because she had not yet borne a child. But when her son was born, everything changed. The joy in her heart knew no bounds, and she was finally accepted and cherished by her new family. Her baby became the center of her world, the source of all her happiness and hope. The young mother would spend hours gazing at her child, marveling at his tiny fingers and toes, his soft breathing as he slept, the way he smiled in his dreams. She would sing to him in the early morning light, carry him through the markets of Savatthi, and dream of the man he would become. In her child, she saw not just her present joy, but her entire future, her security, her purpose, her immortality. But as the Buddha taught, all conditioned things are impermanent. Nothing in this world of form remains unchanged forever. One day, when the child had just begun to walk, taking his first precious steps around their small courtyard, he suddenly fell ill. The sickness came quickly, like a storm that appears without warning in a clear sky. Kisa Gotami called for the best physicians in the city. She spent every coin the family had, sold her jewelry, begged neighbors for help. She stayed by her child's bedside, day and night, holding his small hand, whispering prayers and lullabies. But despite all her efforts, all her love, all her desperate prayers, the child's fever would not break. On a morning when the dawn light seemed dimmer than usual, when even the birds seemed to sing more softly, the child took his last breath in his mother's arms. Kisa Gotami's world, shattered like a clay pot, dropped on stone. The grief that overwhelmed her was deeper than any ocean, darker than any night. She could not accept that her child was gone. She could not believe that the light of her life had been extinguished. In her overwhelming grief, Kisa Gotami refused to accept her child's death. She held his lifeless body close to her heart and began wandering through the streets of Savatthi, approaching everyone she met, pleading with them to give her medicine that would restore her child to life. "Please," she would cry, tears streaming down her face, "my baby is only sleeping. He is sick, not dead. Surely you have medicine that can wake him up. Please, I will give you anything I have." The people of Savatthi looked upon her with pity and concern. Some tried to speak gently to her about accepting what had happened. Others turned away, unable to bear the sight of her overwhelming grief. But Kisa Gotami could not hear their words of comfort or acceptance. Her heart was so filled with sorrow that there was no room for anything else. Sister Dolma pauses in her telling, her own eyes soft with compassion. "Can you feel, dear friend, the depth of this mother's love? Can you understand how her heart, which had expanded to encompass all the joy in the world, now felt as if it held all the sorrow that had ever been? This is the nature of attachment. It brings us great joy, but it also makes us vulnerable to great suffering." Days passed as Kisa Gotami wandered the city, her child's body growing cold in her arms, her own body growing weak from lack of food and sleep. Finally, a kind stranger, seeing her desperate state, told her about the Buddha, the enlightened one who was teaching in a grove outside the city. "If anyone can help you," the stranger said gently, "it would be the Buddha. He is said to have the power to heal all suffering, to provide answers to the deepest questions of life and death." Hope flickered in Kisa Gotami's heart, like a candle flame in the wind. She made her way to the grove where the Buddha was teaching. still carrying her child, still believing that somehow, some way, he could be brought back to life. The Buddha sat beneath a great Bodhi tree, surrounded by his disciples and followers. The setting sun cast long shadows across the grove, and the air was filled with the gentle sound of evening prayers and meditation. When Kisa Gotami approached, the Buddha looked upon her with eyes full of infinite compassion, seeing not just her present grief, but understanding the depth of all human suffering. "Blessed One," Kisa Gotami cried, falling to her knees before him, still clutching her child. "I have been told that you have the power to heal all ailments, to answer all questions. Please, I beg you, give me the medicine that will restore my child to life. He is my only son, my only joy, my whole world." The Buddha's voice, when he spoke, was like the sound of deep, still water, calm, clear, and infinitely patient. "I can help you, Kisa Gotami," he said, "but first, you must bring me something I need to prepare the medicine that will heal your grief." Kisa Gotami's heart leaped with hope. "Anything, Lord Buddha. I will bring you anything you require." "Bring me a handful of mustard seeds," the Buddha said, "but they must come from a household where no one, not a child, not a parent, not a grandparent, has ever died." Sister Dolma's voice takes on a tone of gentle knowing. The Buddha, in his infinite wisdom, was not asking for the impossible to be cruel. He was offering Kisa Gotami a path to understanding, a way to see beyond her individual grief to the universal nature of loss and impermanence. But in that moment, filled with hope, she could only hear the possibility of healing. With renewed energy, Kisa Gotami set out to find the mustard seeds. Mustard seeds were common in every household in Savatthi. Surely, this would be an easy task. She approached the first house she came to, a large, prosperous home with a beautiful garden. "Please," she said to the woman who answered the door, "I need a handful of mustard seeds. The Buddha is going to prepare medicine for my child." The woman looked at Kisa Gotami with kind eyes and said, "Of course, dear sister. I have plenty of mustard seeds. But why do you carry this child who is clearly... Has anyone in your household ever died?" Kisa Gotami interrupted urgently. The woman's face grew sad. "Oh, my dear, yes. We lost my husband's father just last year, and my own mother passed away 5 years ago. Death has visited this house, as it visits all houses." Kisa Gotami's heart sank, but she thanked the woman and moved on to the next house, and then the next. At each home, the story was the same. The people were kind and willing to give her mustard seeds, but when she asked her crucial question, the answer was always the same. "Yes, death has visited our house too." As the day wore on, and Kisa Gotami went from house to house, from the richest mansions to the poorest huts, a gradual understanding began to dawn in her heart. At every door, she heard the same stories of parents who had lost children, children who had lost parents, grandparents who had passed away in their sleep, young people taken by illness or accident. "My son died in the war," said one mother. "My daughter was taken by fever," said another. "My dear husband passed away in his sleep," whispered an elderly woman. "Death visited us when my baby was born still," wept a young wife. Each story was different, but each story was the same. Each household had been touched by loss. Each family had experienced the same grief that now consumed Kisa Gotami's heart. As the sun began to set, and Kisa Gotami realized that she would never find a household untouched by death, she finally understood the Buddha's teaching. She sank down beside the road, her child still in her arms, and for the first time since his death, she truly saw him, not as the sleeping child she had pretended he was, but as the lifeless body he had become. But with this seeing came not despair, but a profound understanding. Her grief, which had felt so unique, so overwhelming, so impossible to bear, was actually the common experience of all humanity. Every person she had met that day had walked the same path of love and loss. Every household had faced the same reality of impermanence. In that moment, Sister Dolma whispers, Kisa Gotami discovered the first noble truth that the Buddha taught, that suffering is universal, but she also discovered something else, that in recognizing the universality of suffering, we find not isolation, but connection, not despair, but compassion. Kisa Gotami gently laid her child's body down and performed the proper funeral rites. She wept, but her tears now were mixed with understanding. She grieved, but her grief was tempered with acceptance. The love she had felt for her child was not diminished. It was transformed into a love that could embrace all beings who suffer, all parents who have lost children, all children who have lost parents. She returned to the Buddha not with mustard seeds, but with something far more precious, the seeds of wisdom that had sprouted in her heart. Lord Buddha, she said, bowing deeply, I could not find the mustard seeds you requested, but I have found something far more valuable. I have found understanding. The Buddha smiled with infinite compassion. The mustard seeds you sought, Kisa Gotami, were not for your child's body, but for your heart. You have found them, the seeds of wisdom that can transform suffering into compassion, isolation into connection, despair into peace. Sister Dolma's voice becomes a gentle whisper as the monastery settles into its deepest quiet. This, dear friend, is the mustard seed teaching, that in recognizing the universal nature of suffering, we find not greater sorrow, but greater love, not isolation in our pain, but connection to all beings who have loved and lost. The oil lamps flicker lower now, casting dancing shadows on the library walls. Outside, the mountain wind carries the sound of prayer wheels spinning their ancient mantras into the night. The monastery breathes with the rhythm of centuries of practice, of countless souls who have found peace in these sacred halls. Sleep now, Sister Dolma whispers, knowing that you are not alone in whatever sorrows you carry. Like mustard seeds, scattered on fertile ground, your experiences of love and loss connect you to the great web of existence, to all beings who have ever loved, ever grieved, ever found peace in understanding. The butter lamps glow softly as Sister Dolma returns to her quiet reading, her presence a gentle guardian as sleep carries you into the peaceful realm of dreams, where wisdom flowers like lotuses in the still pond of a quiet mind. Sister Dolma closes both ancient texts with infinite care, her weathered hands moving like prayers themselves. The candlelight flickers lower now, casting dancing shadows that seem to hold both the monkey's simple wisdom and Kisa Gotami's profound journey. Two teachings, she whispers, her voice barely audible above the mountain wind, but one truth. The monkey grasped rice and found itself trapped. Kisa Gotami grasped love and found herself lost in sorrow. Both discovered that freedom comes not from having, but from letting go. She looks up, her eyes holding depths of compassion accumulated over decades of practice. The monkey learned that an open hand can receive endless rice. Kisa Gotami learned that an open heart can hold endless love, not just for one child, but for all beings who have ever suffered loss. This is the Buddha's gentle genius. He taught the same liberation through both parable and lived experience. Tonight, you have received both teachings. In your own life, sometimes you will be the monkey, trapped by desires that seem so important in the moment. Sometimes you will be Kisa Gotami, holding so tightly to love that you cannot see the universal nature of your experience. Sister Dolma's voice becomes even gentler, like a mother speaking to a beloved child. But remember this: every attachment that causes suffering also carries within it the seed of wisdom. The monkey's hunger led to understanding. Kisa Gotami's grief led to compassion. Your own struggles, whatever form they take, are not obstacles to awakening, but the very path itself. She gestures to the ancient texts before her. These stories have been told for over 2 millennia because they speak to the eternal human experience. Every generation discovers anew that grasping brings suffering, and releasing brings peace. Every heart must learn again that love, when held with open hands, becomes infinite. The mustard seeds Kisa Gotami sought were not in any household because death touches every life. The rice the monkey wanted was always there, waiting for open hands. The peace you seek is not hidden in some distant place. It lives in the space between grasping and releasing, between fear and trust, between holding on and letting go. The profound truth of the mustard seed settles into your heart like gentle rain, soaking into thirsty earth. You understand now that suffering is the thread that weaves all human lives together, that loss is not punishment, but simply part of loving in an impermanent world. As this wisdom takes root within you, you notice the soft glow of candlelight emanating from the monastery's infirmary. The gentle sounds of quiet conversation draw you closer, and you realize that tonight's teachings are not yet complete. Brother Tenzin awaits within, ready to share an even deeper understanding about the nature of suffering itself, one that will transform not just how you see pain, but how you choose to carry it. Your footsteps naturally lead you toward this sanctuary of healing, where the next layer of Buddhist wisdom is about to unfold. Behind the infirmary, Brother Tenzin tends his medicinal garden in the fading light. His weathered hands move among the healing plants with reverent care, touching leaves of holy basil, checking the growth of ashwagandha roots, gathering fresh sprigs of brahmi that glisten with evening dew. You approach quietly, not wanting to disturb his meditation in motion, but he senses your presence and turns with a smile that seems to capture the last golden rays of sunset. "Ah, perfect timing," he says, his voice carrying the gentleness of settling dusk. "I've just harvested chamomile for tonight's healing tea. The plants know when their medicine is most needed." He holds up a basket filled with delicate white flowers that seem to glow in the lamplight. A small shrine sits at the garden's heart, adorned with offerings of water, flowers, and flickering butter lamps. The sweet smoke of incense mingles with the natural fragrance of the healing herbs, creating an atmosphere of deep sanctity. Come, Brother Tenzin gestures toward the infirmary. Tonight brings a different kind of healing, one that touches the very root of suffering. As you enter the infirmary, soft candlelight reveals a figure huddled in the corner, a middle-aged woman whose shoulders shake with quiet sobs. Her fine clothes suggest she's traveled from the wealthy valley below, yet her face carries the unmistakable weight of profound grief. Brother Tenzin approaches her with the slow, careful movements of someone accustomed to approaching wounded animals. "Sister Pema," he says softly, using the respectful term for any woman seeking refuge, "you've come a long way in the darkness." The woman looks up, her eyes red with weeping. "My son," she whispers, her voice barely audible above the gentle crackling of the fire. "He was to be married next month. The fever took him in 3 days. I've lost my only child, and I can't stop the thoughts. They circle like vultures telling me this is punishment, that I failed him somehow, that I should have done more, been more." Brother Tenzin settles beside her on a low cushion, and you take a seat nearby. Drawn into this circle of shared human experience, the monk's presence radiates such deep compassion that even you feel held by his gentle energy. "The pain of losing a child," he says slowly, "is perhaps the deepest wound a human heart can bear. Tonight, let me share with you an ancient teaching that might help carry this unbearable weight." Brother Tenzin rises and moves to a small altar where a bronze Buddha sits in meditation posture, hands positioned in the mudra of healing. He lights a stick of sandalwood incense, its fragrant smoke curling upward like prayers made visible. 25 centuries ago, he begins, his voice taking on the rhythm of sacred storytelling. The Buddha spoke of 2 arrows that pierce the human heart. The first arrow represents unavoidable pain, loss, illness, death, the natural sorrows that come with loving deeply in an impermanent world. He pauses, allowing the weight of these words to settle. The woman's crying has softened to quiet sniffles, her attention captured by the monk's gentle authority. "Your son's death, dear sister, is such a first arrow. It strikes without warning, without mercy, and causes pain so deep it seems to shatter the very foundation of existence. This arrow we cannot dodge. To love is to make ourselves vulnerable to this kind of loss." The candlelight flickers across the bronze Buddha's face, creating the illusion of infinite compassion, watching over this sacred moment. But then, Brother Tenzin continues, "We often wound ourselves with a second arrow. This one we shoot ourselves, piercing our hearts with thoughts like, 'I should have prevented this,' or 'Life is meaningless without him,' or 'I will never be happy again.' We take the natural excruciating pain of loss and multiply it with our resistance, our stories, our refusal to accept what has already happened." The grieving mother's head lifts slightly. "You mean the way I torture myself with what-ifs, the endless replaying of his last days, imagining different outcomes?" Brother Tenzin nods with profound gentleness. "Those thoughts are the second arrow, dear one. They do not honor your son's memory or demonstrate your love. They simply add unnecessary suffering to necessary grief." He moves to a shelf lined with singing bowls of various sizes and selects one with a deep, resonant tone. As he strikes it softly, the sound fills the infirmary like liquid peace, vibrating through your chest and settling your nervous system into deeper calm. Feel the difference. He guides her. Close your eyes and simply feel the raw grief for your son. The love that has nowhere to go. The emptiness where his presence used to be. This is the first arrow. It hurts, but it's clean pain. Honest pain. The woman closes her eyes, her breathing deepening as she follows his guidance. You close your eyes too, perhaps connecting with your own experiences of loss or imagining what such grief might feel like. Now, notice when your mind begins to add stories. Brother Tenzin continues, when it starts to blame, to rage against fate, to insist that things should be different than they are. Feel how this mental activity creates a different quality of suffering, more chaotic, more desperate, more resistant. The singing bowl's tone gradually fades, leaving a silence so profound it seems to hold infinite space for whatever needs to be felt. Let me teach you a practice, Brother Tenzin says, settling into deeper meditation posture. It won't take away your grief. Grief is love with nowhere to go, and that is sacred. But it might help you carry this love with more grace. He guides the woman and you through a gentle meditation. Breathe naturally, and with each breath, imagine you're creating space in your heart. Not space to push the grief away, but space to hold it with tender compassion, the way you would hold your son if he were here and crying. His voice becomes increasingly soothing, like a gentle current carrying you toward peace. Place one hand on your heart and one on your belly. Feel your body breathing itself, supporting you through this impossible time. Your body knows how to grieve. Trust it. The woman's rigid posture begins to soften. Her breathing, which had been shallow and interrupted by sobs, deepens into a more natural rhythm. Now bring your son's face to mind, not as he was in illness, but as he was in joy. See his smile, hear his laughter, feel the love you have for him. This love doesn't disappear because his body is gone. Love is indestructible. Tears still flow down the woman's cheeks, but they seem different now, less desperate, more like a natural expression of the heart's truth. As if drawn by some invisible signal, other members of the monastery community begin to appear quietly in the infirmary doorway. Brother Norbu, whose own weathered face speaks of personal loss. Sister Yangchen, who left the world after losing her entire family to an avalanche years ago. They don't intrude or offer platitudes. They simply sit in silent solidarity, creating a container of shared understanding around the grieving mother. Brother Tenzin speaks to this expanded circle. We are all members of the same human family, united by our capacity to love and therefore to lose. Each person here has felt the first arrow of unavoidable suffering. Brother Norbu speaks quietly. I lost my twin brother when we were young monks. For years, I shot myself with second arrows. Anger at the Dharma that couldn't save him. Guilt that I survived when he didn't. Only when I learned to honor my grief without amplifying it, could I find peace. Sister Yangchen adds, the avalanche took my parents, my husband, my 3 children in one terrible night. I came here because I was drowning in second arrows. Hatred for the mountain, for fate, for a universe that could allow such devastation. Learning to grieve purely without resistance slowly returned me to life. Each sharing adds another layer of compassionate understanding to the space. You feel yourself held in this web of collective wisdom. surrounded by beings who have walked through the valley of deepest sorrow and emerged with greater capacity for love. Something shifts in the grieving mother's presence. While tears still flow, her face has lost its expression of desperate anguish. She looks up at Brother Tenzin with wonder. "I can still feel the devastating pain of losing him," she whispers, "but somehow it feels different, like pure grief instead of desperate suffering, like love itself instead of love mixed with panic and resistance." Brother Tenzin reaches into a small wooden box and withdraws a prayer wheel, its surface worn smooth by countless hands. "Your son's death is a first arrow that will always cause your heart to ache. This is the price of having loved so completely, and it's not a price you would trade away, even if you could." He places the prayer wheel in her hands, but you can choose, moment by moment, whether to add second arrows. When the what-ifs arise, when the blame comes, when the despair tries to convince you that nothing matters anymore, these are invitations to pick up second arrows. You can instead choose to return to pure grief, to the clean pain of love without its object. The prayer wheel catches the candlelight. As she turns it slowly, with each rotation, you can almost see the burden of unnecessary suffering lifting from her shoulders. Brother Tenzin stands and invites everyone to join him at the small altar. Tonight, we practice the ritual of the 2 arrows, acknowledging the first arrows we carry and ceremonially releasing the second ones. He lights several small pieces of paper from the altar candle. If you wish, write on these papers the second arrows you've been shooting yourself, the stories, the resistance, the ways you've been multiplying necessary pain with unnecessary suffering. The grieving mother takes a paper and writes slowly, tears dropping onto the words. Others in the circle do the same. You, too, might imagine writing down the ways you've been adding to your own difficulties with resistance and harsh self-judgment. One by one, they feed their papers to the altar flame. As each burns, Brother Tenzin speaks. May this resistance transform into acceptance. May this blame transform into compassion. May this despair transform into trust in love's indestructible nature. The smoke from the burning papers mingles with the incense, carrying their collective intention toward the stars, visible through the infirmary's small window. The first arrows remain. Brother Tenzin concludes, life will continue to bring loss, disappointment, and pain. But we release ourselves from the second arrows, the suffering we add to suffering through our resistance to what is. As the ritual concludes, the monastery community begins to disperse for evening meditation and rest. The grieving mother stands, and for the first time since arriving, she moves with something approaching grace. How do I maintain this understanding when I return home? She asks Brother Tenzin, when I see his empty room, his belongings, all the reminders of what I've lost. The monk walks to his medicine cabinet and withdraws a small vial of aromatic oil. This is made from flowers that bloom only at night. They find their beauty in darkness, just as we can find wisdom in sorrow. When you feel yourself reaching for second arrows, anoint your wrists with this oil and remember, grief is love persisting, and love is never wasted. He places his hands on her shoulders in blessing. Go gently, dear sister. Carry your son's memory not as a burden of what was lost, but as a treasure of what was given. Your love for him is indestructible. Let it be a source of strength, not suffering. She bows deeply to him, to the altar, to the assembled community. As she prepares to leave, she turns back once more. Thank you for teaching me the difference between pain and suffering. I will carry this wisdom like a medicine for the heart. Alone again with Brother Tenzin, you sit in the peaceful aftermath of this profound teaching. The candles have burned lower, creating an even more intimate atmosphere in the infirmary. And you, dear friend, he says, settling beside you one final time, what second arrows have you been carrying? What stories have you been telling yourself that multiply your natural human difficulties? In the gentle silence, you might recognize areas of your own life where you've been adding resistance to disappointment, shame to mistakes, or panic to uncertainty. Remember, Brother Tenzin says softly, tomorrow will bring what it brings. There will be first arrows, challenges that cannot be avoided, losses that must be grieved, difficulties that must be faced. But you now carry the medicine of discernment. You can choose to meet these challenges with presence rather than resistance, with compassion rather than judgment. He stands and begins extinguishing the candles one by one, each flame's departure making the remaining light more precious. This is the deepest healing, not the elimination of life's inevitable difficulties, but the end of unnecessary suffering. This is true freedom. As this story draws to a close, allow Brother Tenzin's wisdom to settle into your heart like healing medicine. Feel yourself supported completely by your bed, surrounded by the warmth of understanding and compassion. Carry with you into sleep the image of the grieving mother, finding peace not through the absence of pain, but through the presence of wisdom. Remember the prayer wheel turning in candlelight, the incense carrying intentions skyward, and the profound truth that love is indestructible. Let your breathing naturally deepen as you drift toward rest, knowing that you now possess the tools to transform suffering into wisdom, resistance into acceptance, and pain into profound peace. Sleep well in this understanding. Sleep deeply in this compassion. Sleep peacefully, knowing that healing is always possible, and that you are held in the eternal embrace of love.